have to assume that El Salvador's prisons are not nice places to be compared to our prisons. As bad as ours are, those have to be much, 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 much worse. So hopefully this is a deterrent. What are your thoughts on this? Do you think this is an effective move, or is this just showmanship?
No, I think that it's something that we really needed to consider. So back when I practiced law, I represented any number of organized crime sets and venues and things in different venues. And the designation of the cartels as a foreign terrorist organization became the key that ironically unlocked the door to deportation. Because what happens is now these individuals can be declared or are declared as foreign terrorist organizations. So their deportation schedule is far different, right? It's right out under the under the immigration law. So that was the pathway, and I'm sure it was constructed that way. And I think the irony here is that the Trump administration has given people the opportunity to self-deport if they want to, and if they don't, they'll be they're identified as gang members and engage in criminal activity. They're out as long as they're here illegally. So this should disrupt certain gang activity on the street, right? Because if nothing else, you're taking people away who were committing crimes yesterday who aren't here to do so today. Sending them to El Salvador, I think, is a powerful message. I think there's 300 that were sent. I thought I read we're paying $6 million. So roughly, what's that? $55 per day per inmate, which is cheaper than many of the private halfway houses and private prisons in America. But more important than the cost is returning people to their point of origin, right, which is not here in America. And then also, I think, sending a very powerful message that if you are engaged in this sort of organized criminal activity, the standard operating procedure of perhaps getting arrested and perhaps being prosecuted and uncovered and put away here, that's no longer the game. You're going to go there, and then you're going to have to figure out what to do from that point. So I think it's a tremendously unorthodox tactic, but I think we're in an unorthodox situation. Again, as I mentioned before the break, being with the president and the attorney general and the FBI director at the Department of Justice on Friday, where they talked about all the efforts to combat fentanyl. I mean, these are some of the main people putting fentanyl out there. So, this will save lives, and it probably has already saved lives in a short amount of time since those flights have left.
It's funny, you say that this is kind of a novel thing, but I feel like Trump might have actually stolen this idea from some of these South American leaders, right? Because they say that that's what Cuba did, right? They emptied their crazy houses and prisons and sent them all to the United States. That's what they were saying Maduro did too, that he emptied the prisons and sent them all up through the Darien Pass and said, or through the Darien Gap and said, go up to the United States. They have, 3 hots and a cot up there. I wonder if he's just kind of playing a little bit of a Uno Reversi on him.
Yeah, I think there's some of that. And I think it's also that, ultimately you're talking about, a very, very professionalized group of people engaged in criminal activity, right? So the universe of what you can do to scare these people shrinks every minute, right? The only thing I will say is that, and we haven't heard anything about this, but, the measures to make sure that these individuals are being sent out of here who are here illegally are actually part of these gangs. I'm sure that's being handled with the utmost care and professionalism, because certainly we wouldn't want someone who is not a part of the gang to somehow be on the first plane to El Salvador when they could just be deported during the normal course. But other than that, I think that as we've seen gangs and these cartel-fueled gangs take over apartment buildings in Colorado, take over whole communities and city blocks, and really poison so many areas of the community. This is a non-traditional tactic to a non-traditional enemy in many ways.